Welcome to Topics and Tips Tuesday in the Nursing Studio. Today we'll be covering 3 topics on practice questions. 1, when to start doing questions. 2, how many should you complete? And 3, what are the best resources? So here we are. When should you begin doing practice questions? Okay, so let's discuss when you should start doing practice questions. I get this question a lot from people who are still in school. Should you start while you're in school? Should you wait till afterwards? Etc. And so with our first bullet point for today's tips is that you want to start when it works best for you. And what I mean by that is if you have time during school, you can do practice questions, but I say that more so just to kind of train your mind on how to answer questions. But my biggest advice for you is you're already doing tons in school, so don't feel pressured to start doing practice questions while you're still in school. And just saving it to the end if you need to. And so I really mean like going really hard with practice questions when I say saving it to the end. Like when you're done with school and you truly have time and adequate amount of time to study it, review the rationales, and making sure that you're retaining the content. So when you're doing those practice questions, you want to break them down, and I'll get into that in a little bit more detail in a few when we talk about how many you should do each day. But when to start studying it, again, do it when the time allots, because it's going to be of the most benefit for you when you're actually focused, you're actually able to review your rationales, you're actually able to go back and review the content that you may have missed on certain questions. Whereas if you're trying to cram this in during the busiest time of your NP career as a student, it can be difficult and you may just be going through the motions. Oftentimes schools incorporate it into the curriculum. That's an amazing time to be able to do those just because it's already a part of your grade and curriculum. And a lot of times they do like the predictor exams you utilize for entrance and exit exams for your courses. So it's great if you have those, that as you're gearing towards the time to prepare for that exit exam, to start doing a few practice questions. Also, I recommend, just a little bonus tip, find out which predictor exam your schools are using so you can purchase exams also from those providers yourself and just look at a few of them or purchase their books or whatever the school is using so you can train your mind on how to answer those type of questions, because oftentimes it's not that you don't know the content, it's that you simply don't know how to apply it to those question styles. So again, begin at your best time. If you're in school and utilizing it, utilize it right around the time as you're prepping for those exit exams. If you're out of school, that's great. Now you have more time. That's usually my go to, but I like to tell you guys all the time, don't make it a stressor because you're already doing so many tasks while in school. So, how many questions should you complete? All right, question number 2. How many practice questions should you do at one time to be beneficial? This is another question I get so much. So once you have decided when you want to start doing your practice questions, then the next thing is about how many should you do. A lot of people sometimes want to sit down and do tons and tons of practice questions. And again, as I say with anything else, you need to be realistic. Do enough so that you're able to study, learn testing styles, but also to retain the content. It's not beneficial if you did 200 questions today and you're not retaining anything. That was just a waste of time and you just gotta, ta-da, you did it, but what is that doing for you? So make sure that you're doing those so that you can retain it. So what I recommend is 15 to 25 a day, just depending on your time frame. So say you're covering cardiology today and you do 15 practice questions, because I'm big on, you always hear me stress that when you do your practice questions, you have to make time to do your rationales. You always hear me tell y'all to keep a notebook so that you can have those rationales and have that as a resource to go back to see if there's something that you need to review back over, see where you have made improvement as you started to study and do more questions. So again, say you do 15 today. After you complete those, go back and look at which ones you have correct or incorrect. And those that you have incorrect, you need to review those rationales and write them down in that book. The incorrect ones, write them down. Review all the rationales, but write down the incorrect ones in your notebook so that you can quickly glance back over those at night and review different things so that you're building on the content that you're studying. So it's not so much as trying to make sure that you're completing tons of questions, but getting quality. So quality over quantity. Okay, and then I say try to get to your goal. You know, the AAMP has 150 questions and the ANCC has 175 questions. So as you get closer to time to test, you need to be able to have gotten up to answering 150 questions. So as you are finishing with your studying and it's not so much content driven that you're doing right now, and you're more focused on just doing practice questions, you'll have more time and you won't be so worn out and fatigued from studying and completing practice questions. Okay, so as you get closer to the end, that's when I say bulk it up a little bit more. Do 50 some days, do 100 some days, do 150, so that you're gradually getting up to that level, so that you are used to being able to sit down and do that many at one time. Number 3, what are the best resources? And number 3, another big question that I get is that what are the best resources to use for practice questions? There's so many resources out right now. And so I just like to tell you what works for me, work for my review students, and things that I just find beneficial to apply to the exam. Okay, so APEA, APEA, Amelie Hollier's review course, you know, she has a book with like 1,100 questions in it, and it's broken down by systems. It also has answers and rationales. So some people enjoy that one. I will say that in my personal opinion, those questions are a little bit harder than the exam, but the benefit that I tell people on that is if you can answer those questions, you'll do fine on boards. Also, what I think is great about it is that it's broken down by systems. Y'all know I'm big on breaking everything down by systems. If you look at my review book, you're going to get the content by systems, you're going to get the medications by systems, you're going to get the practice questions by system, because I feel like as you're studying one thing, you need to make sure and test your knowledge on that one area and be sure that you have it before you proceed with another system. So I think it's great that she has that option for a book. Now, also, she has Q banks of test questions. I think it's like over 3,000 of those. And it's a variety of those that you can do. But one of the big ones that a lot of people do, schools utilize it, and a lot of my review students utilize it. And when we do our 101 sessions, is very beneficial for that one, because that predictor exam, after you complete it, it gives you a score. It's scored just how the exams are scored. And it gives you a breakdown by system as your strengths and your weaknesses. So that's the part I love about that, because it's a good resource to see where you are and what areas you really need to spend more time focusing in on. Next, we have Leak. And you know, Leak has books. In her newest and latest book, it has the link to the app that you can utilize, which is great because you have it on the go, you have the book, you know, you have something hands-on and not having to carry the book all the time. But I think it's great. And if y'all follow me, you know that I stress to you guys, Leak's questions are closest to boards. Leak takes the exam every time it's time for her to recertify. So every 5 years, she goes and sits for boards again. She doesn't just turn in her information. She sits for boards. And so she is very familiar with what these tests are providing. And so that's why her questions are so close to boards. So I tell people, if you don't do anything else with Leak, at least look at her questions. And she has over 700 questions. They have rationales as well. So it's a great resource for that. And I like to go through different ones that are good, so you have these options, because I know you use various tools. So if you have this stuff already, then it's great, and you can use it for the most benefit that you need it from. FNP Mastery is good as well. That's an online access. And then another one that people like to use is Board Vitals. Now, again, it's good because it's an online access. You're able to have it on the go. You can do it on your computer. You can do it on your phone, your tablet, iPad, whatever. Also, their questions are good, but again, Leaks are closest to boards. I think it gives you the benefit of being able to have a large number of questions to go through, so you're not getting used to those questions on Board Vitals. I think that's a good aspect of it. I also like the fact that they incorporate different types of questions so that you can understand the testing style, so you're starting to learn how to apply the content to various types of questions. And then lastly, my review book, like I told you, I break my stuff down by system. So you will have the questions that go along with it. It's not as many as the questions that you see here, but if you have my resources, they're good for that nature. My questions I typically make easier, just because they are designed to see if you know the content. If you know the content, you'll be able to answer it. And I also have my question designed off of how they test. So they're testing to see if you can do assessment, evaluation, diagnosis, and treatment. So I put those various things so you can see all of the question types for ANCC as well as AANP, as well as the different question styles, and to test your knowledge, and you will see how it builds upon your knowledge in each system. But those are just a few resources that I wanted to go over with y'all. Thank you for hanging with me. I wanted to come on and do this one this week as I'm launching my practice question course again next week. So that classes are for that. So it just made me sit down and think about all the frequently asked questions that I get on practice questions. So these were the 3 basics that I get. When should you start? How many should you do? And what are the best resources? So I hope you found this helpful. If you do, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Be sure that you click that bell for notifications that when I do my weekly videos, and we'll be soon doing more. So be sure to follow. And also be sure you're following the Nursing Studio on all platforms. Make sure you're seeing this logo, the Nursing Studio, on Instagram, Facebook, and here on YouTube. All right, y'all take care.